I have to tell you, I know what is on top of the Washington Memorial, and I know the stairs, but the way you describe it, I'm going to see if I can take the cameras into the Washington Memorial, because it needs to be seen, and I think there's a reason it's not seen anymore. Explain what's on the top of the Washington Memorial in Washington. Nothing can be built higher than this, for this reason, and the stairs.
So here's this obelisk that towers over the great city of Washington, D.C. And every morning as the sun comes up, it gets to see only the words that God and the Son can see. And it's in Latin, praise to God. In other words, here was a life who said his whole goal was to bring praise and glory to God. That's Washington's own words. He said, that's the passion of my heart, is to bring honor to God who made me.
The stairs.
The stairs, as you walk up. You can't walk up them today. They'll make you take the elevator. Of course, they think your heart can't handle it.
Sure.
I think it's a form of historical revisionism. They don't want you to see, as you go up the stairs, that there are Bible verses from the Proverbs all the way up to the top that were supplied by American people as they built that building as a testimony of their faith.
And different organizations built it, right?
So it's filled with different regions, with scriptural messages, filled to the glory of God, reflecting the kind of faith that America had, believing consistent with their founding father. I hope you can get the cameras in there and show them someday.
Yeah,
you need to show the nation.
We will.
Because it's extraordinary.
We will.
Now, apparently, I can't prove this, but I've heard that there is a copy of the top of the Washington Monument that's on display in a museum in Washington, but it has been carefully turned so you can't see the Latin words, so you won't have the ability to ask.
Tiffany, our executive producer, will you find out if that's true or not?
We will find out if that's true.
All right. Watchdogs?
I've heard that said so many times, it must be true. So what I would love to have happen is to say, all right, you keep hiding the text that's on the top, but let's put a camera over and see what you're not letting anyone else see.
Okay. Back in just a second. We're back with Peter Lilback, Jerry Falwell Jr., and Burton Folsom Jr. Let me go to the first junior, Jerry Falwell Jr. You're at Liberty University. Do you have a hard time finding teachers that will, professors that will teach?
No, because we don't have much competition for professors who have the values that are important to Liberty, the ones who are willing to teach true history about our founding principles. We have a unique mission in that regard, so no, we've not had trouble finding teachers, but we do screen them very, very closely.
What is your name there? Shoshana. Shoshana, you were saying in the break that, how old are you?
I'm 17.
You're 17. And do you learn any of this in school?
I have learned none of this. I mean, I would have loved to, but I've learned absolutely none of it.
We see that a lot with students from public schools who are taught that the Founding Fathers were anti-God, anti-religion, that they didn't want any mention of God in the public square. And so we really have to have a special course that's required of all students called Foundations of Government, to something that sort of does what the public schools no longer do, that brings them up to where 16-year-olds were a generation ago.
Can I ask you a question? Because there will be people that are watching and they will say, well, see, now this is just a bunch of religious people that just want religion taught and crammed down. For instance, I have no problem. You want to teach evolution as a theory.
And we do. We use the same textbooks as every other university. We teach it as a theory. We also teach some of the flaws of the theory. We have many students who transfer to Liberty because of the lack of academic freedom at secular universities.
Right.
They're ridiculed because they are conservatives. Their professors use the F word to describe them in class in front of their students. And so they come to Liberty because you can discuss all views and all thoughts, but conservative views are just anathema at many public universities.
So, but what I want to ask is, you know, if you're looking at the history of our country. And you know, George Washington, any doubt that this man was an amazing, God-fearing Christian? Didn't he try to build it? Wasn't our army a Christian army? His words, not mine.
That's right. He called them Christian soldiers defending the dearest liberties of their nation.
Okay, so you have that going on. People will say, well, you're just trying to build a big Christian army here. The truth about the founders, and Peter, I'm sure you know this. I don't know if you know this. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but they were the biggest defenders of other religions.
That's correct.
Were they not?
I believe they were.
Yeah, I mean, they were the Father Abraham story from George Whitefield and Sam Adams when they got together in the First Continental Congress. Do you know this, Peter?
Yes.
Yeah. So they got together and they defended. They would go around and testify in court for other religions. I mean, here you are, an evangelical university, and you asked me, a Mormon, to speak. A lot of people have a problem with that.
Protestants, people of no faith, Jewish people, who just believed three core issues. They believed in support for the state of Israel, strong national defense, and
Abortion.
And pro-life. And those were the three issues that united all those groups, and that was all it was. And
isn't that, Peter, what the founders were trying to get to? Your father was just really repeating, and that's what we need to get to again, is people being cool. As Thomas Jefferson said, if it neither breaks my leg or picks my pocket,
that's right.
What difference does it make? It doesn't affect me. We need to get back to where we're tolerant of other people's views. It doesn't mean that we don't vigorously defend our point of view, but we are tolerant of others' faith, etc., etc. But it seems to me that we're entering a bigoted, the people who are called bigoted, are the ones who are saying, no, wait a minute. No, wait a minute. I don't have a problem with teaching that. You do.
That's why we have so many students transfer to Liberty, because they're faced with religious bigotry at other universities. And we believe in diversity of ideas. We don't put any cap on what can be discussed. It's just there's more freedom at Liberty, I'm told by students who've been there 2 or 3 years, than at secular universities.
I have interns that go to school at several universities here in New York. They don't feel comfortable saying they work for me or for Fox. They don't feel comfortable. I mean, I've had one of them say to me, no. I mean, we joke. It's the Glenn Beck Witness Protection Program. I mean, it's amazing. Okay, we'll be right back in just a second. Now with Peter Lilback, Jerry Falwell Jr., and Burton Folsom Jr., and I want to make a correction here in the monologue, and Burton, you can correct me here on this. In the opening monologue of the program, I said that Woodrow Wilson had 30,000 people in jail. We think the number was, how many, 2,000, 3,000 people?
I don't have the number, Glenn, but a lot of people were jailed. I mean, Eugene V. Debs, the head of the Socialist Party, was in jail. A lot of newspapers were shut down, especially German-American newspapers, absolutely shut down. A lot of civil liberties problems under Wilson.
Okay, and real quick, because I just want to go, I've been concerned about the, the new Supreme Court justice saying, well, you know, if you're caught off the battlefield and you've written a check to Al-Qaeda, or a terrorist organization is what they say, we can hold you without a trial or due process indefinitely. And, you know, with all the stuff of talking about the Miranda rights and just, you know, suspending your rights as a citizen, et cetera, people say it can't happen here in America. Burton, would you like to tell me about the citizens under FDR that lost their rights?
Of course. Yeah, of course, we had, under President Roosevelt, we had Moses Annenberg went to prison for an income tax violation, but Lyndon Johnson, who also had income tax violations, had the IRS called off because Johnson was critical to helping Roosevelt in the state of Texas.
I was actually
and so if you had income...
I'm sorry, I was actually thinking about the Japanese Americans and the German Americans that were here.